Hello everyone. I'll be presenting in English today, so I hope you'll bear with me, and I look forward to speaking with you afterwards, any questions you might have. So I'm Adam Graham, the Chief Executive of the Marketing Group. I joined in November last year, about a year ago. TMG floated on the Nasdaq First North in the summer of 2016, and after a period of explosive growth where they acquired 17 agencies, I came in just at the end of that period and have spent the last 12 months focusing on consolidating and really getting the network working as well as it can. So TMG is an agile global marketing network that aims to fill a significant niche between the big holding companies and the smaller independent agencies. We believe there's an opportunity to provide a viable alternative to those big players who've dominated the space for so long. By structuring itself in a more progressive way, TMG is able to attract top quality agencies who do not wish to sell out to the usual suspects. There are a great many brands who wish to work with independent agencies but require a global presence and a lower risk profile. TMG provides a middle ground between these two extremes of the great big holding companies and the very small independent agencies. And we think that we can provide the best of both worlds, an independent spirit with global scale. So our global network has offices in 8 countries, and as I say, through the summer of last year, we acquired a number of agencies all over the world to provide a diversified service offering in a global footprint. We have a great number of Tier 1 brands, and these are just some examples of the clients that we work with. And so today represents the beginning, sort of the end of the first phase and the beginning of the next chapter in our progression. After a period of heavy acquisition, we then needed to spend some time consolidating the group, getting all the agencies working together as well as possible, and we've now done that, and the results are demonstrating the success of this strategy. We've grouped together all the agencies within the network into 3 complementary communities of practice: brand and communications, science and performance, and influence and amplification. These communities of practice they're not silos, they're permeable. People work across these communities, but by grouping them together into clear service offerings, we're able to unlock more teamwork, more synergy, and present to clients in a more unified fashion. So the hard work that we've been doing for the last 12 months in consolidating the business, creating more efficiencies in the back office, improving our operating model to be future-facing and technology-focused. We've developed our own productivity platform, which I'll come on to describe shortly. And we've made some really key hires to drive the innovation from the central team. And this hard work is yielding results. So the proof of this collaborative approach, there's a great example which was announced recently where 2 of our agencies in Australia, Channel Zero and the Lead Generation, combined their offering to pitch in a competitive pitch scenario, and they won that pitch for Nestlé, which was a big brand that they might not have been able to win individually prior to joining the group. We're seeing agencies, once they've joined the group, able to take on bigger projects and win bigger pitches because, by virtue of being part of the global network, their risk profile with procurement has decreased, and therefore their kind of credit rating and the size of projects they're able to be awarded has increased. We're working together to create a global delivery machine. So, whereas in the previous days when networks were founded, before technology, before communications tools had evolved to the level they have now, in order to service a global client, you needed to replicate your service offering in every single territory. And you no longer need to do that. So we're now creating global teams around the world which are different pockets of specialisms in different regions. So we've got, for example, a project that's happening at the moment where the account management and the PR is based in London, but the branding and the advertising comms are being developed in Australia. And it's a highly effective way of working, and it means we don't need to replicate the service offering in every country. We can just acquire specialist agencies who are best in class and then have account management teams where the clients are. So TMG represents a good opportunity at the moment. You know, the market, the digital advertising market is forecast to be worth 224 billion in 2017, and it's forecast to have double-digit growth up until 2020. So it's a significant market opportunity. Because of our diversified service offering and because of the geographical diversity of our network, we're able to even out seasonal fluctuations in demand. And, you know, where it's winter in Australia, it's summer in England, and, you know, the combination of this diversification means we can kind of even out some of the peaks and troughs that individual agencies in individual regions might experience. And we have a clear growth strategy for the future, which is based around acquiring more agencies, but also taking a more technology-led approach to unlock the value and the efficiencies within the network. Here's a quote from Mark Pritchard, the Procter & Gamble Chief Brand Officer. He said, "Our expectation is that over time, our agency partners, whoever we choose, are going to be able to integrate all of the workload, so you can get the production out, the distribution out, as well as the creative out." He also said, "Your complexity should not be our problem, so we want you to make that complexity go away." And this really goes to the heart of the opportunity for TMG. You know, by being launched in the modern era, unlike the big six marketing networks who were launched 50-odd years ago, based upon legacy advertising models in an era of less communication and less technology. And what's happened is they have evolved in silos. They have lots of competing factions within the networks. So the networks aren't actually as collaborative as they could be, and indeed it creates complexity for the client. In the modern era, the client wants a single door into the network, and they want the complexity behind the scenes to be managed by the network itself, and so they get one point of contact, one service offering, and one joined up approach. And this is what we're aiming to create. You know, the market opportunity here is that clients need to do more with less. Their clients are continually under pressure to generate more efficiency in their marketing spend. And they're demanding more transparency and a more seamless experience from marketing networks. And technology players are encroaching on the traditional agency space and disrupting some of that traditional legacy model as well. So the big networks are under pressure. And this represents a huge opportunity for TMG. As I say, by being launched in this modern era, by structuring ourselves in a different way, we can capitalize on this opportunity. If the big networks are an oil tanker, we can be a speedboat and react quickly to market changes. So we've acquired lots of agencies around the world, and we have best-in-class specialists in 8 countries. But we believe there's a real opportunity to take that to the next level by the use of technology. By creating our own marketing platform, which all the agencies plug into, we can platformize TMG to cut through the bureaucracy and to unlock so much more effectiveness from our network. So we'll become a next-generation marketing platform. And the 3 pillars that drive that are the global network of complementary agencies, the productivity platform, which unlocks that collaboration, and an innovation engine that enables us to react to market opportunities a lot quicker than our rivals. We have 3 rhythms of innovation which run globally throughout the group. We have a monthly meeting with all of the CEOs around the world via video conferencing. On a quarterly basis, all of our local hubs meet up physically to discuss opportunities. And once a year, the whole network gets together physically to look at opportunities. And a great example of that innovation engine working is Tember. Tember was conceived in New York in the spring when our agency CEOs all got together for our annual meeting. And within a few months, we'd released our first version of this. And because we're an agile network, because we operate in an iterative and responsive way, we're able to get something up very, very quickly and continue to improve on it in the live environment. And that really goes to the heart of how we operate as a network. So Tember is that productivity platform that I've referenced. Tember was the youngest Sherpa to reach the summit of Mount Everest. And so, like us, he was a young and plucky challenger. And Tember is a technology that enables all of our agencies around the world to surface opportunities. If a client brief comes in, We can run a query on the database to see who has experience in that sector, who has experience with that client, who has the relevant service that's required to attack that brief, and then we can join up the teams globally through that technology. And the second part to our plans for growth is to build out an engaged community of marketing professionals worldwide. So be that clients at brands and agencies beyond our network, ones that we don't own. If we can create a genuine community where there's a real value exchange, what we can do is build the two pipelines that any business needs to succeed, the new business pipeline, but also the talent pipeline. And in our case, the talent pipeline is largely based through acquisition. So by creating a community where clients are getting value, where agencies are getting value, and TMG is getting value, we can create a genuine symbiotic effect. And ultimately, TMG's network can then expand beyond that of the agencies that we own, and we can become a networked network, which gives us much bigger reach. And ultimately, we could see that the agencies within our community could pay to be on the Timber platform, which gives us reach in areas where we don't own agencies at the moment. So the work we've been doing in terms of consolidating the back office and generating more value is laid out quite nicely on this chart. At the bottom here, we've got this innovation engine, and I spoke about the quarterly cycle and the monthly cycle to help surface opportunities and react in an agile way. The back office consolidation through Timber is enabling us to start to look at resource management and global load balancing, so we can unlock pockets of inefficiency. Rather than having to replicate the service offering in every country, we can base people where their specialisms are. And then the brief management, the team building, and the new business functions of Timber unlock the growth opportunity there. And in terms of the front of house offering for clients coming to us, it's those three complementary communities of practice of brand and communications, science and performance, and influence and amplification. So TMG is a speedboat, and our competition are oil tankers. You know, we have the opportunity in front of us. We have the wherewithal to react to it with speed. We've got some fantastic people on board. We've got really talented people all around the world, and that enables us to capitalize on these opportunities. We deliberately have a very nimble and decentralized structure by design, rather than, you know, layers and layers of hierarchy where messages have to go all the way up to the center to come back down again, which slows you down, which reduces the quality of response. We empower our agency CEOs to make decisions at a local level. We give them the information they need to make the right decisions. And we collaborate in real time to be able to react very quickly to market opportunities, but also client opportunities. If we're running a campaign, the world of marketing is so much more fast-paced now than it used to be. With social media, you need to be able to react in real time. And so by creating a network effect around the world and by using technology to react quickly, we can capitalize on those opportunities. And moving forwards, growth will come through further acquisitions. As I say, we had a very explosive bout of acquisitions over the summer and deliberately spent the last year focusing on hooking those all up. Now we're ready to move forward with future acquisitions. We'll be turning on new revenue streams and attracting new clients and moving higher up the value chain. And this is really key. You know, the lower levels of production are becoming increasingly commoditized in the marketing space. And where the real value is in the consultative layer at the top. So media planning and buying, strategic consultancy, data and science. These are the areas where you can still charge a premium, and that's where the value is. So we will continue to acquire agencies in that top level and continue to operate in a high-value state. By the use of technology, we'll continue to build in a much more scalable approach, so we can, you know, generate a more profitable solution as we grow the company. And we'll look to acquire more software as a service, more data, more platform, and more community businesses to build out this next generation marketing platform. So this represents the beginning of the next chapter of TMG. It's an excellent time for you guys to become aware of us and to potentially get involved. We've done a lot of the hard work now. We have offices all around the world. We're profitable, we're growing, and I think the next chapter should be very exciting indeed. Tack.
Thank you, Adam. Great presentation. A new chapter.
Indeed.
But in order to start a new chapter, I think we have to go back.
Okay.
A few steps, and because I've seen the share went like this, straight up, and then. Can you tell me a little bit what happened and what you have done to the organization and the ownership?
Absolutely. So, as I say, I joined in November last year, and the majority of that share arc you're describing kind of happened before that point. The original founding team of the marketing group followed a very, very aggressive acquisition strategy, and all of those acquisitions were done via share swaps. So over a period of 4 or 5 months, 18 agencies were acquired globally, and a lot of shares were created to fund those acquisitions. So as you can imagine, a lot of shares all of a sudden becoming available on the market, obviously then created a lot of pressure on the share price, which contributed to the slump that followed afterwards. For the last 6 months, the share price has stabilized. There's been less of the shares being created, less dilution. I think things have stabilized now, so we're ready to move forwards with a clean bill of health.
You also mentioned that you will present your third quarter report here now in
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Yeah.
Because I was looking at the second quarter actually, and I found something odd about the EBITDA margin. How do you calculate your EBITDA margin? Because I'm used to calculate my EBITDA margin by dividing EBITDA result by revenue. But I've seen that you do it in some other way. Can you please explain?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the marketing industry, net revenue is the turnover minus pass-through of costs to give you a clean revenue number. And so EBITDA margin in our industry is calculated on the net revenue or the gross profit figure, because otherwise it can be distorted hugely by things like media fees, which isn't revenue coming into the business, it's money that's going straight out the door to media owners, for example. So that's how a lot of our peer group also calculate it.
So that's standard practice in your industry, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Now to the more fun stuff. You told me about some synergies or sales synergies. Have you seen any like cross-border sales synergies? I mean, you have satellite offices in Australia and you have in England. Do you have any like examples of cross-border?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got, as I mentioned earlier, we've got a project that's happening right now where the client is in London and the account management and the PR is based out of London. But the brand strategy and the creative and the communications work is being done in Australia. We've also been working on pitches with Australia, Singapore and London working together. So we're seeing more and more of that. We're also seeing referrals within the network where people are collaborating with their partners on briefs that may have traditionally gone out of the network. So they've got much more confidence in working with their partners within the group. So we're keeping more revenue within the group, and we're also able to pitch for incremental new business as a network.
All right. And I know here in Sweden, gaming or iGaming, casino and poker is a huge industry. I know they spend a lot of money on lead generating marketing. How are you positioned in that service area?
In lead generation?
Lead generating and data-driven marketing.
Yeah, so we've got an excellent lead generation agency in Australia. They're actually called the Lead Generation Agency. They're very successful down there. We're looking at rolling that out globally. They're collaborating with a partner in Singapore to give it more of an Asia-Pacific focus. So certainly that's one of the streams of service offering that we have. But also, I think there's a real opportunity in data, and data plays into the media and the CRM as well, which are both big areas of focus for us going forwards.
All right. Do we have any questions from the audience? No. I have then another question. I mean, as we all know by now, you have markets all over the world. I mean, where do you see the strongest growth or the strongest demand for your services, and where do you see weaker demand for your services?
Well, because of the way we evolved, we have a high representation in Australia and Singapore at the moment, so that's where the majority of the revenue is being generated. We're looking to acquire more agencies in London and Northern Europe, so that's a growth area for us so that we can even out the geographical representation a bit more.
And how are you going to finance your potential acquisitions?
So it's a really important point to make that we will no longer be doing them via the old model of share swaps. We want to focus on concentrating shareholder value. So we're in talks with several lenders about creating a debt facility which will allow us to get leverage finance. We will also, as and when appropriate, look to do private placements or another fundraise via the market, which would then allow us to do it in a much more usual and predictable way, and hopefully should then help concentrate that shareholder value going forwards.
And how do you screen for potential targets, acquisition targets? I mean, there's a jungle of small but also interesting marketing firms out there, but how do you find the one that matches your organization?
That's a great question. I mean, I think the other point to make is, I joined in November, and then an entirely new board took over in the spring of this year. And so the team that's running TMG now are all highly experienced marketing professionals, have all run, marketing agencies or marketing networks themselves. So we've got a really strong team at the centre who've got a good eye for what a good marketing business looks like. Because we've got such a good geographical spread and such highly networked agency leaders around the world, we've got a number of opportunities coming to us. And we can afford to be selective because now we've got that scale. Now we've kind of done the hard bit in terms of building the global infrastructure. It's about bringing in high quality acquisitions that are going to add incremental value.
Okay, I got it. And back to the market then. I'm guessing that the main driver behind in your market is like the economics. Or what else is driving the markets except from economics in general?
Do you mean the marketing industry itself?
Yeah, what's driving the demand?
Well, I mean, people always need to sell products. Marketing works. Sometimes people only know, there's a famous phrase, I know 50% of my advertising budget works, I just don't know which 50%. Luckily, in the modern era, we've got much more data around that now, and we can actually identify what is working. And I think if you position yourself in a more data-centric and effective space, then you can win more market share. So we're seeing client opportunities are fruitful. There's a lot of client opportunities at the moment, and as I alluded to at the beginning, our competitor set, the big 6 marketing networks, they are under increasing pressure. Clients are becoming increasingly dissatisfied. They're not feeling like they're getting great value for money. And so we are seeing opportunities coming out of those networks, and we think there's a lot of market share that we can gain through that.
Do you have you specified any goals, say EBITDA margins and growth?
So we have some research out. Edison, a very well-respected research house in the UK, has done some analysis, and there was a forecast put out into the market off the back of our Q2 results with a 1.7 million EBITDA forecast for the year. Our Q3 results are coming out on Wednesday, so I'm conscious not to say too much at this stage. But yeah, there is research for there is guidance for this year and the years beyond via that analyst.
All right. Do we have any questions from the audience now? No. Well, I think we got your business. And,
thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you. Cheers.